Hi! Welcome to this part of my review featuring the Goblin Slayer TRPG. If you haven't seen the other parts of my review, featuring this role-playing game based on the popular fantasy series, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time, I am going to talk about the basic combat checks. I think it's important to memorize these checks, or at the very least, remember the page where you can find the information about them, because you're going to be using them throughout all of the combats in your campaigns. We start with the initiative check. The only bonus that you get for this check comes from anticipate. This is a skill. This check is a special one that doesn't use a basic score or class level. This is performed at the very beginning of every round during combat to determine the action order for the characters that round. When it comes to the effects, characters with a higher check score will act first. If two player characters have the same check score, they should discuss who should go first. If it's two enemies, the game master decides. If a player character and an enemy have the same check score, make another initiative check and compare those check scores. Then we have the hit check. This adds technique focus plus the level of class that can attack, perhaps fighter or monk, plus bonuses from weapons and other things. This check applies to both close combat and ranged combat. You attack an opponent with the weapon you have equipped. When attacking with a melee weapon, you make a melee attack, of course, and a ranged weapon is a long distance attack. During a hit check, you compare the check scores and your hit check against the dodge check or block check made by the target. During a hit check, you are going to compare your check score, that is your final or total check score, against the dodge check or the block check made by the target. When a hit check is a critical success, the check score doesn't matter. Unless the opponent gets a critical success on their dodge or block check, they cannot defend against the attack. When it comes to the effects, if the opponent fails their dodge check or block check, the attack lands, and the opponent takes damage. After the attack has landed, there is a possibility that its effectiveness score will add extra damage. If the hit check was a critical success, the attack lands and does the final check score plus the 5 bonus damage. A critical hit also occurs. If the opponent passes their dodge check, they dodge the attack and cannot receive damage. However, for block checks, the attack is considered to have connected with the shield, and thus the opponent can still take damage, though the shield will greatly reduce it. Now we have the dodge check. It's technique reflex plus the level of class that can dodge, plus modifiers from martial arts, parry, etc. You dodge a melee or ranged attack with this. During a dodge check, you compare check scores, that is, your dodge check against the opponent's hit check. You cannot dodge attacks with a hit check that was a critical success unless you roll a critical success on your dodge check. If the final score for the dodge check is equal to or greater than the hit check's final score, you evade the attack and don't take any damage. If you get a critical failure on the dodge check, a critical hit occurs. Now when it comes to the block check, you add technique reflex plus the level of class that can block, plus modifiers from shields and other things. With this, you will be able to block a melee or ranged attack. During a block check, you compare check scores, that is, your block check against the opponent's hit check. Because you can add the block modifier of the shield being used to block, these checks are easier to make than dodge checks. You cannot defend against attacks with a hit check that was a critical success unless you roll a critical success on your block check. If the block check's final score is equal to or greater than the hit check's final score, you block the attack with your shield. Then add the block score of the shield to reduce the damage. The enemy's attack is still treated as having connected, however. If you roll a critical success on a block check, you completely defend against the attack and take no damage at all. However, if you roll a critical failure, a critical hit occurs. And this concludes this part of the review. In the next part, we are going to talk about checks related to spell use and miscellaneous combat maneuvers. This will make more sense when we get to the section where I talk about combat. For example, dodge is obviously better than blocking if you manage to pull it off, but if you use the shield, you're going to benefit from that shield bonus, but at the same time it would be easier for the enemy to hit you. So if you are going to be using a shield to block your enemy's attacks, you better have the best shield available, so that the damage is greatly reduced. Thank you for watching this part of the review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that have been supporting the channel by sending drive-thru RPG gift certificates. If anyone else wants to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.